In session 12 here, we're going to go over the coordinate graph. Many of you, I'm certain, have seen this before, but we'll quickly review it here. In this particular instance here, for those of you that are used to seeing a graph with 4 quadrants, we will get into that later. I'm only interested right now in introducing just the first quadrant here, where both the x and y's are positive values. So then, made a copy here of some graph paper, and I've gone ahead and created the beginning portion here of our coordinate graph. As you can see, we have a line going up and down here in red, and then we have a line in red going across the page. Those represent 2 different axes, an axis. You have an axis going across the page, and that's called your x-axis, going across or horizontal. And then you also have a y-axis, which is going up and down or vertical. And where the y-axis and the x-axis cross or intersect is called your origin for origination, origin. And at your origin here, that is where the values for both x and y are 0. So then, what I'm going to go ahead and do here is just quickly stick on some points. And then what we're going to do is determine what the values are for those points, the coordinates of the values for those points. Okay, right now I stuck on 4 different points. This one here, 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 and then lastly over here. Well, in order to determine the coordinates for each of these different points, you have to first of all remember that in our coordinate system, the x value is going to be listed first, and then your y value is going to be listed second. And then both of those values are going to be put within inside parentheses. So we have an ordered pair here, 2. Your x value comes first and your y value comes second. Well, let's take a look here. At this point here, you can see that this point here is on this vertical line. This first red hash, if you were to take that straight up the page vertically and make it parallel to your y-axis, you can see that this particular line here goes all the way up the top of the page. So in order to find the values, the coordinates for this point here, you have to first of all start at your origin, and then what you have to determine is how many over do we have to count on our x-axis. Well, each one of these red vertical hash marks or slashes here represents 1. So here would be the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. Likewise, on your y-axis, here's our first, our second, third, fourth, and fifth, and these are evenly spaced apart. So for this first point, we need to count over on our x-axis 1. And what that means is every point that would exist on this particular line here that goes up and down vertically through this 1 would have an x coordinate value of 1. But in order to be able to plot this point, we have to have our second value of our ordered pair. We not only need to know the x value, we need to know the y value. So if we come over on our x-axis 1, the question then is, how far up do we have to come on our y-axis before we hit that point? Well, remember, here's our 1 axis, or our y-axis, with a value of 1. And if we were to extend that horizontally across the page, it would then be parallel to our x-axis. So at this point here, we had to come over on our x-axis 1, and then up on our y-axis 1. So that particular point would then have the ordered pair of 1, 1. The first coordinate representing our x value and the second coordinate representing our y value. Okay, let's deal with this second point here. What are the coordinates for that particular point? Well, start at your origin, and what you always want to do first is your x value, your x-axis. So how many over do we have to count? Well, we have to count over 1. And remember, if we took that straight up, that's going to miss this point. So we have to come over a second one. And if we take that one straight up, we can see that we have a hit. So the first value, the first coordinate in our ordered pair is our x value. And we can see we had to come over 2 on the x. Well, how far up then did we have to go on the y? We came over 2 on the x, and if we go up 1, that's going to be our first one. If we go up 2, that's our second. Here's our third one on the y-axis. We had to go up 3. So our y value, our y coordinate for this ordered pair is now 3. So what are the coordinates for this point? The coordinates are 2, 3. Let's take a look at our last one here. We'll skip the third. What are the coordinates for this point right here? Once again, start at your origin. And we have to count over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At this point here, 6, and if we come vertically up, we're going to see we're going to hit that point there. So the x coordinate for this point is 6. What's our y coordinate? We come over here to our 6 on the x and go up 1 for y. Here's our second one on the y, our third, and then our fourth. So we can see now that the y coordinate is 4. So the ordered pair for this point is 6, 4. The coordinates for this point are also 6, 4. Coordinates matching our ordinate or our coordinate pair there. Let's take a look here at our second screen. We have a table here listed of our x values, that's going across here, 1 through 6, and our y values, 2 through 7. Well, we could go ahead and plot these points based upon this chart. When x is 1, y is 2. So let's come over here. When x is 1, y is 2. Let's come over here to our second ordered pair. When x is 2, y is 3. So start at our origin, come over 2, x is 2, and then y is 3. Let's skip the chart now. What I've done is I've rewritten all of the ordered pairs on this chart as ordered pairs themselves inside parentheses. So for this first point here, when x is 1, y is 2, we now put parentheses. Our x value comes first, 1, 2. That's this point. 2, 3. That's this point. So let's find our next point here, 3, 4. Start at our origin, go over 3 for our x, and then up 4. Our fourth point has a coordinate pair of 4, 5. An ordered pair of 4, 5 with the coordinates of 4 and 5. So we start at our origin, come over 4. Then we go up 5. Same with 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or excuse me, 5. And then we want to come up 6 on the y-axis. And then our last one is 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's our x value. And up 7. There's our y value. So what we've done now is we have plotted the points for these ordered pairs on this graph paper here. And plotting the points for plotting points on a graph or plotting the line or an equation on a graph is called graphing the coordinates of the points or graphing the equations themselves. Okay, on our review here, a coordinate graph is a graph that goes in 2 dimensions. One dimension goes vertically, the other goes horizontally. Vertical being up and down, horizontal being going across your page. The letter X represents the horizontal axis and the letter Y represents the vertical axis. Origin, the place where the x-axis and y-axis intersect each other. And then lastly, your coordinates. The location of every point in a coordinate graph is made up of an x-axis number and a y-axis number. Each of these numbers are called coordinates. And then lastly, even though it's not written here on the review page, your origin is where the x and y axis cross each other, and the ordered pair for your origin would be x0 and y0. So your ordered pair would be 0, 0. Okay, that wraps up session 12 on the coordinate graph.